The story of the Great Library of Alexandria. You know, sometimes when we think of history, we imagine kings and battles, conquests and treaties, but not everything from the past is about war. Some stories are slower, quieter, and in many ways even more fascinating. Tonight, let me take you back to one of those quiet but grand places in history. The story of the Great Library of Alexandria. A place that has inspired centuries of dreams, legends, and a little bit of mystery. Now, picture yourself in the bustling city of Alexandria in ancient Egypt, around the 3rd century before the Common Era. The air is warm, the streets are alive with traders, sailors, scholars, and travelers. This was a city founded by none other than Alexander the Great, though he himself never lived to see its full glory. His dream, however, was that Alexandria would not just be a city of commerce, but also a shining center of knowledge. And so, under the rule of his successors, that dream slowly began to take shape. Imagine walking into the library itself. You'd find yourself in a grand hall, lined with shelves upon shelves. Not books as we know them today, but scrolls, thousands of them. Some say the number might have been in the hundreds of thousands, though the truth has been lost to time. Every visitor, every traveler arriving in Alexandria was asked to hand over any written work they carried. Those scrolls would be copied carefully by scribes, and the originals were kept in the library's collection. That way, Alexandria became not just a city of trade, but a city of learning, gathering wisdom from every corner of the known world. It's said that within those walls you might find texts on medicine from Greece, poetry from India, maps from distant lands, astronomy from Babylon, and stories passed down from the ancient Egyptians themselves. A vast treasure of human thought, resting quietly in rows of papyrus scrolls, protected by the sea breeze just beyond the city walls. You can almost hear the faint scratch of pens as scholars dip into ink and copy one more precious work, their lamps flickering gently through the night. Now, who were these scholars? Imagine men and women who dedicated their lives to study, figures like Euclid, who worked on the foundations of geometry, or perhaps Eratosthenes, who came astonishingly close to calculating the actual circumference of the Earth, using only shadows and a bit of clever observation. These were not just people who studied dusty scrolls for the sake of it. They were people pushing the boundaries of what was possible, in medicine, in science, in philosophy. But of course, history is never so simple. The library's story is also filled with questions, uncertainties, and even tragedies. For centuries, people have debated how the Library of Alexandria came to an end. Was it Julius Caesar's soldiers setting fire to ships in the harbor, whose flames spread into the city? Or was it centuries later, when waves of conflict swept through the region? Some say it was destroyed little by little over time, as neglect set in and politics shifted. The truth is, no one really knows. And maybe that is part of the mystery. The idea of such a vast treasure of knowledge lost to time, leaving behind only whispers of what might have been. And so we sit with the story, imagining those endless rows of scrolls, that faint smell of papyrus, and the hum of quiet study in the air. A city where knowledge was treasured above all else, and yet, like so many things in human history, it slipped away. Perhaps it reminds us how fragile human achievement can be. Or perhaps it reminds us to value the knowledge we have today, which is easier to access than ever before, and yet just as precious. So as the night stretches on, and as you let your eyes grow heavier, think of those scholars working patiently by lamplight. Think of the great hall echoing softly with the sounds of learning, and think of the library itself, still alive in some way in our imagination. Because while the scrolls may have burned, the idea of Alexandria lives on, carried gently through time, like a story whispered from one dreamer to the next. Would you like me to make the next story also from ancient history, like Mesopotamia, Rome, or China, or should I start moving toward